Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. Welcome to the Pivotal Podspective. I'm your host, Elliot Brown, with, of course, my co-host,
Mr. Adrian. I always forgot to say my name correctly, yeah.
And today, joining us from Pittsburgh, was it? Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, is our financial coach extraordinaire, Kristen Ricupero. What a great name.
Said it correctly, yeah. We should.
You get major points for saying that right.
They really are. It's a great name, Recupero. It just like rolls off the tongue. I want to roll the R a little bit as well. Recupero.
There you go.
Yeah, that works. Do you
like it? I like it.
How are you, Kristen?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. It's hot. It's hot in here, isn't it?
It's hot. He's doing quite well because he had his haircut.
Yes.
After 3 months.
That's good.
You have no idea how new I feel. Genuinely.
Isn't it amazing what a good haircut does?
Yeah. It's been a long time. I hadn't left it that long in years. 20 years hadn't been that long. That's mad. Anyway, how you doing? Oh, you've got a bit of a storm rolling in there. I hear the States are being hit with storms right now, yeah?
Yes, it just rolled in. It rolled back out, but it is hot as can get out here. It's 95 degrees. I've got the air on behind me, but I'm still sweating.
Yeah. I'd have to be 95.
It's rough.
Today, to be fair.
It's quite hot.
We actually built the temperature up in the room so we feel like we're close to you. You know,
that's so awesome. That's so sweet of you.
Well, I learned empathy last night. You see, so in the show we did last night, so so I thought I'd try it out.
It's just next level now. You know, it's just it's been upgraded.
So you are our financial coach extraordinaire, and so tell us a little bit about what you do, how long you've been doing it, Kristen, and
what is a financial
and what is a financial business coach?
Exactly.
Sure. So I've been a financial coach for about 4 years. 2016 is when I started, and I went full time in 2018 after I had my second child, and I basically work with people on their money behaviors, the emotions, learning the budget. I help them figure out how to use their money more wisely to be profitable in their business. I couldn't think of the word that I wanted to use, but to be
come on, you're a financial business coach. That's the best word.
You guys are hitting me at the end of my day too. I know it's a lot later there, but no. So I work on the emotions and the behaviors and the tactics of using it and the strategies and systems so that you have more cash flow in your business, so that you can bring it home and then you can build wealth with it, leave your legacy, and do good things at home too. We can't just make more money and then dump it out the window. Yeah. So whereas opposed to a lot of people know what a financial advisor is, who does the investing and helps you make the most of it in that way. I help you have money to invest.
Right? Yeah, supposedly.
Right. Supposedly.
I think financial advisors really are out for themselves, but no, that's not everybody. And of course, there are good financial advisors available.
There are wonderful financial advisors.
From experience now, but not going to say anything.
Sorry, I interject, so I do apologize.
Fair enough. But no, so that's really about it. So, there's a big difference in what we actually do, but I get into the nails and the nitty and the gritty and the guts. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a bookkeeper. So I don't talk in those big words. I try to make money fun. The system that I use, Profit First, makes it visual. So it's really like you're looking at bank accounts, you're looking at multiple. People think I'm crazy when I say you need to open up 7 to 11 bank accounts. But when you're looking at things broken down, either business or personal, they both translate just the same. When you can see exactly how much should you be using for marketing, how much should you be putting in your operating expense, how much should you be spend on personal development in your business, how much should you be setting aside for those darn taxes. When you're doing those things and you see it broken down and you look at it, it's a clear answer of, can I afford this or can I not afford this?
I like that. I like that. Do you know what? That's a really, really nice point. Never thought about it like that. We have personal accounts. We have business accounts. We have a business account that might hold the VAT in it for a little while, but not thought about breaking it down even further. In fact, what's going on right now, it's definitely something I love that.
Because
it's simple. Yeah, it's simple as well.
And because I think no one really tells you that. No one really teaches you that, So most people just have an accountant if they have one, and you're just being taught the basic, which means usually let me do my stuff and pay me $1,000 per year without actually doing much.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And most of us get into business because we have a passion. We love doing something. We love helping people. We're great at that craft or that technician part. But when it comes down to like the actual money part and learning what it takes to run a business, it's winging it. It's a wing and a prayer. So we spend so much time in investing and learning and doing things on social media and planning social media and planning, marketing strategies, but we don't plan for our money. And that's where I come in.
Yeah, sure. Are you getting all the sound in just one ear?
Yeah.
Oh, you are.
No worry. But I suppose you're going to change at some point, so it's not.
Yeah, that's right. Because I can hear us fine.
Yeah, we can hear us fine.
You have just gone into my right ear. That's strange. Anybody that's watching is listening to this as a podcast, that might make sense to you. You might be getting it out of one ear. I don't think so, because the tracks are different.
Please let us know in the comments, maybe.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. But if you are listening to this, you'll have no idea what the hell we're talking about, because. Because this is obviously an audio podcast and a video podcast as well, and we'll tell you more about that at the end of the show.
Exactly.
So tell us. I love the bank account thing. That is that on its own is actually pivotal. To be fair, that's got to help with a huge amount. I'm a really visual person. All right, I've got a big whiteboard here and plan stuff on it, right? And I've been asked, well, why can't you do that on a piece of paper? Because the piece of paper is this big, and I've got a lot of information to put on it. So, and that sounds weird. What I mean is having different bank accounts, having that list of and seeing those things. You'd split it up on a spreadsheet, but it's real and tangible when it's in an account and you see it, isn't it? So I quite like that.
And not just that, but you also like to break things down quite a lot. So just to make sense for people, and I suppose that's what you're talking about as well, Christine.
Absolutely. So the whole process comes from, I can't take the credit. Mike Michalowicz wrote the book Profit First, and I'm one of his certified coaches there. But, that's one of the first things I say to people. And I tried it. Like, it doesn't do the same for you on a spreadsheet, because you're looking at it, like you said, on these little numbers.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Let alone is it just a little numbers. It's so easy to budget and just move it and say, listen, you know what? I'm running a little short in my personal development, but I really want to do this course. So I'm just going to do that. That's not the way this works. This works based on your historical data of your business, how it's been running. And then we're pushing your numbers and your target percentages that you're using to the numbers that are going to get you to be an elite and profitable business, so that you are running like a well-oiled machine. Yeah,
good. I like that. And so you work on a personal and a business level, right?
I do. Yes.
And so how do you distinguish the two in a psychological way? Because I mean, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that in essence run their personal lives.
Basically, I think they're interconnected. Anyway, you just have to probably, I think it's
we separate them
in order to be able to do the business one properly. Okay.
Yeah. We actually separate them. And that's one of my steps of profitability, is that you need to separate your personal and your business life, because you need to know what it takes to run your business. And you need to know what it takes to run your personal life. When you commingle the two, you don't really have a true feeling of what's going on. And not only that, if you're commingling it, and that's my word for mixing the two. But if you're doing that, then how do you know the true profitability of your business? And if you go to sell your business and somebody wants to know, well, if I'm going to hire somebody to do Elliot's job, what am I going to make? Yeah, you have no idea, because you've been mixing up your personal life with your business. So you need to run your business like a business and keep your personal life out of it. You need to run your personal life like your life depends on it, and your wealth and your generations depend on it, and run that separately. So it's one of the first things that I do with most business owners, is we do that clear separation.
Right. Okay. And you have a program for this, do you? Do you sort of is that what you do? You work in it. You have a particular structure, or is everybody different, or generally most people tend to work the same way, or same way?
All of the above. So I work one-to-one with some clients. I do have a group coaching program, which we walk right through all of this, through the bank accounts, through separating your personal business client, your personal business, everything. And then I also have a new course coming out. That's same thing. So I definitely have a step-by-step process, but when the individuals want one-on-one, we go through a little bit different of a process.
Okay. So what is Grandma's old envelope system? Go tell me about it, because you put this in the questions that we do before the show. Tell me what the hell that is. I've never heard of that before. Is this something that's known? Do you know about this?
I haven't, especially I'm from Romania. I think I might get an idea what it is, but
I'm intrigued.
So you're your grandma, and maybe this is different for the States than it is in other countries, but an old a long time ago, obviously, you'd get your paycheck, you'd get it pretty much, you go to the bank, and there weren't necessarily, not everybody had a bank account. Not everybody was even rich enough to have a bank account.
Yeah.
So they'd come home and they'd literally have these envelopes, and so much would go in for groceries, so much would go in for rent, so much would go in. And it was always based on a percentage, so that there may not always be the same amount, but there was always enough. So there was always enough for food, but some meals and weeks, if it was a good week, you were having steak. If it was a bad week, you were having, pasta, and, for days on end, pasta, maybe chicken, maybe not.
Yeah.
But so it was the same thing. And then obviously things that were fixed, like rent, a certain amount would go in, that was most important, and that was fixed. So what we do when we're looking at the percentages, and when I'm looking at a historical data on what a business has been doing in the past, is I use a profit and loss statement and balance sheet and tax returns and some things to generate what do they need in their business, where have they been running, and then where do they need to go, and how can they cut those expenses so that it works on that same percentage system. So you always have enough, but if you don't have the revenue to support what you're doing, this clearly defines that you don't have the revenue. Like, you're trying to be too big. What do they say in Texas? It's big hat, no cattle. Like, you're trying to over image yourself. Like, it's just, you can't afford to do this. So it's a stark way of looking at it. Either the envelope is there or the envelope's not there. And that's what we're doing with the business.
Right. Okay.
I like the system. No, I haven't heard about it before, to be honest. Well, I've heard it, but in a different way. Well, just like, they put all the money together and they know in their mind, whatever they're supposed to spend. So, like, my parents were like that when I was younger. My grandparents as well. And talking about bank accounts, in Romania, loads of people now, even though the companies obviously prefer to pay you through bank accounts, but what they do, they just get the money, the salary, and they take it out as soon as they got it, because they're afraid to leave the money in the banks and just keep it in the houses or something like that.
Oh, really? That's pretty old school. That's pretty old school.
That's crazy. They still do that?
Yeah, they still do that. Yeah, and even here in UK, I know people, especially people that came from Romania here, and they work, and they are afraid to keep money in the bank just because the government is going to know how much money I have and shit like that, So, yeah.
Right?
You see, funny. But I mean, we tend to think that it's normal to do what we do in business or the right practices, but there's still a lot of people that do things in very old-fashioned ways, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Eastern Europe is still quite a lot like that, to be fair. So interesting. So when and you must get to a stage where you do work with clients where they've got to a point they don't even realize, but actually it's not sound financial sense running the business the way they're doing. What do you do in that case? Do you have to literally go in there and shuffle the whole thing up and literally wake them up and go, look, this just doesn't stack?
They're hiring me to tell the truth. They're hiring me to help them fix their money. So yes, absolutely. Usually in a point like that, like, they're getting to the point where it's either I'm facing shutting down and bankruptcy, or it's poop or get off the pot. And so they're ready. They're usually ready for a change. And so if we have to dig it upside down and make changes and make those hard cuts, it's hard. I mean, nobody wants to, stop a relationship with somebody that they've been using and hiring for ever, their marketing or their media or whatever. But if it's not in the budget and that's what's costing them from being able to thrive and survive and run their business so they can support their family, it's either your family or your, this person that you hired. So you have to support you first.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, the world is in a position right now where there's a lot of businesses that are in that position where, whether they've fooled themselves for the last 3 or 4 months and thought, it's going to get better, whatever they are. And I don't mean that in a rude way to anybody that's watching that hasn't done things in the last 2, 3, 4 months. There are going to be thousands of business owners that have not done maybe what they could have done. This is a prime place for you to be working right now, isn't it? In helping people that are in a massive financial struggle and are having to make decisions on whether they bring those people back, what they do with their staff. Is there going to be work for them in a couple of months? There's some real unknowns. How do you deal with that?
It's been a real challenge. I heard a statistics recently that said 30 to 40% of small businesses worldwide will be shut down by the end of this. And that's heartbreaking. That's somebody's dream. That is, that's somebody's life and livelihood right there. So I've done a lot of different things. I've done a lot of like open office hours that I just opened to the public to try to help out. But, my general advice for everybody and anybody in business right now is that you need to start stacking cash reserves. And if you've not ever had an emergency fund for your business before, now is the time to cut everything that is not necessary to your lifeline. If you have an office and you've been working remote from home and it's been working out for you, exit, get rid of it, cut the lease. If you're paying for services that you're not using on a regular basis, especially if you've lost clientele that you maybe you needed the Zoom version or the StreamYard or whatever, because you had so many clients, but now you're not serving that same population. Cut it, cut everything that's not necessary so you can preserve cash, because that cash will give you not only the ability to sleep at night, but it will allow you choices to make decisions that are right for you and your business. When we get too worked up about money and frazzled and stressed out and anxiety, we make really rash, stupid decisions. And that's it snowballs, and it snowballs in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The cutting the staff, though, I mean, surely that's got to be one of the most painful things, but it's going to be a huge saving on the business. I mean, yeah, of course, there's going to be a lot of jobs going, and we're seeing on the news, and I don't want this to be a doom and gloom, but it's got to be a really difficult area to deal with people, because you have got relationships. There are people there that, of course, they want to support their staff, and they're going to be a lot of them become friends in businesses, don't they?
Yeah.
But having to cut that is got to be one of the most painful things to work with people on. And I'm assuming that sometimes it looks like it's you that's making these things happen as well, right?
Oh, it sure is. When I go into a business, it absolutely
so you become the bulldog, do you?
But I'm used to that. I used to be a general manager for a restaurant, and everything was my fault. It's always the GM's fault, right? So I'm just used to that. And I always tell people, and I tell business owners, if you want to blame me, that's fine. But it's either your kids are eating or they're eating, and they'll be fine. They will find something else or do something else. But really, for the first point with this COVID, this was a little bit different, where we certainly could go to the points of laying them off first and furloughing and taking some other strides to try to get yourselves back on track and get your business back on track first before it's a complete tie. And then, they can collect for unemployment. I'm not sure exactly what the process would be or is, over there for you guys. I don't even know. Is unemployment a thing if you get laid off? Okay.
Yeah.
So dumb things that sometimes I'm not so sure. But, so that's always the first move right now. But when it comes down to it, pre-COVID, and I would go into a business and, I worked with somebody who was so in deep that it literally was, they were meeting with a bankruptcy attorney first, and I was the second meeting.
Wow.
Yes, it's the staff. Do you want to keep your business? You have to make some really hard decisions, because there's a straight up percentage that we look at, or a number that I look at. If you have a business, $150,000 per employee for the top line revenue that you're doing. Somewhere within that, if you have, so if you're doing $1 million business and you've got 30 employees, you have a problem. It's not going to add up. So it's got to be around in the ratios. And there's some different things around that. What kind of business are you, and how heavy are you in service-based or, product and things like that. But, we look at those kind of things first. We look at the way that they're working, what kind of hours, look at other structures first before we say, okay, you have to cut staff. But if that's what it comes down to, like I said, it's either you and your family or this person, and they will be fine, if not better off, if you let them go.
Yeah. But am I right saying that this is where the personal coaching, or I don't know, advice comes more into play? Just because, in my opinion, if someone has staff that they need to cut down, that also means they hire that staff without actually knowing what to ask from that staff, or they're not, maybe it's very good managers and things like that. Am I right saying this, or usually that's not the case? Because if you're a good manager, if you're a good entrepreneur, you hire people and you have the proper tasks to give them in order for them to be profitable for you. Obviously, when something shut down, you have to lay them off, just because that doesn't really work at the moment right now. But mostly your main people in the company, they should be secure there because you've done the things good from the beginning.
Yeah, but that's one more thing that's just really not taught. Just like finances, personal finance, and business, general cash flow and systems, the management and, how to actually train somebody, and leadership is, you really have to be very active in, training yourself and reading books and personal development and taking courses or working with a coach to really train somebody and make sure that you are giving them the right tools and coaching them the right directions to be actually taking over for you. Because if you hired a VA, but you're still overseeing everything that they do, nine times out of 10, you just wasted your money. If you're that's the word. If you're micromanaging everybody, it's ineffective labor, essentially. They could be an awesome person, but it doesn't matter if you haven't taught them and you're not confident with that.
And you financially coach, so you're a financial coach and you're a business coach as well. So do you tend to take one hat off and put the other one on, or does it become sort of one sort of,
or they usually work together and it must be done in that way?
Yeah. How does that work? Because
it tends to really
quite different, aren't they? In a way, although the way that you approach it, I suppose, is different.
Yeah, it really is. So, I tend to really put the financial hat on for the most of it. Once we have the finances straight, once we have bank accounts set up, once we know where you've been, we have a plan in place. You've learned how to budget, you know how to forecast, you know how to plan for your business. You're looking at your marketing. Right there, it kind of molds. But something else we look at is, okay, well, now we've got your business and your expenses right. What else can we do? If you have staff and employees, what can we do for them? Can you teach them how to work in their personal finances and make them better managers of their money so that they're not leaving you for 50 cents an hour or $1 an hour? Because that's what happens a lot with these low to middle wage, labor industries, is that a person will jump ship for just a little bit of money, thinking it's always the next leap. But if you teach them actually how to manage their money, the money is not usually the problem of what they're making. It's how they're managing it. They're not working a budget. They don't understand, that 6 McDonald's at $3 a pop is going to add up over time. And if you go out for breakfast every morning, it adds up. If you have to stay under your limits and you have to spend less than you make, no matter what you do, you have to spend less than you make.
So what do you do when those people say like, but that's my guilty pleasure. That's what makes me happy. That's what I've done for years. What the hell? I cannot have my McDonald's in the morning.
I always start with goal planning first. I guess I kind of skipped over that, but goal planning is hands down something people don't think about. We think that we start a business for financial freedom.
Are you talking about sort of almost like a reverse engineering? Would you like? Yeah. I like that. I like to work like that as well. To be fair,
just because it makes sense at the end.
yeah.
People see it way more clear then.
Right. And so when we're talking about those goals, when all of a sudden 2 months later, and we're talking about, that's my guilty pleasure, there is nothing wrong with spending money and enjoying your coffee or enjoying lunches out or doing these things. But at some point, you're making a decision of where does it fit? Where's too much? Where do I have to say that this is too much and it does not align with my goals? So one question I like to ask is what you're doing aligning with the goals that you have for yourself for the future.
I like it. I like that. Yeah. It fits in well, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah. And I think it's a must for
it's chunking it down, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a must for every business at some point in their life. Maybe not at the beginning, just because they would not be open for it, first of all, even though maybe they should do all the planning and all the budgeting and all that before they go and dive deep into the things. But it definitely must be done at some point with every business.
Yeah.
And in getting your head around the finances releases the stress so much, the pressure, and I know you've mentioned before about sort of mental health as well. All of these things are definitely attributed to the pressure of finances, which let's face it, you can almost have it ingrained into you from your parents, from the way they've done things, or people you've worked with, or the environment you've been in as well. And then you become a business owner and you think it's easy, and and then you're spending money here, there, and you haven't got these things sorted. I can see how it gets a mess. Listen, I'm talking from experience as well, as you can probably tell.
We've all been there.
Yeah, we have, and that's what teaches us. But I'm assuming, and assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups. But I don't mean that in a bad way. But I'm assuming that if you help to educate people slightly better, that they don't get into those bad habits. But people pick up bad habits along the way. How often do you get to work with people that don't have bad habits already and just slip into the things? I mean, or does everybody have some sort of bad habit when it comes to money?
No, not necessarily. And listen, I mean, I had a lot of bad habits. I was not always good with money. I learned this passion came out of fixing my own mess. You know,
Exactly. Yes.
you have to walk through a mess to be a messenger, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, it's so we've all made mistakes. We all start our money story when we're young. It starts by the things you hear your parents say, how they handle money, how do they talk about it? Is it a good thing, a bad thing? Is it not even talked about at all?
Yeah.
But I do get to talk to some people who, I mean, they just want to make sure they're on the right track. And what are we doing? And all we do, honestly, is it's a couple of little tweaks. Sometimes everybody has something that can be tweaked. Everything I can be tweaked. I work with a coach. You know, none of us are perfect in any way, shape, or form, but sometimes just hearing somebody else ask you a question, like, again, is this worth it?
Yeah.
Can make the world of difference and just something they weren't quite thinking about. So I do get to work with a lot of people who will set up like just a one-time deep dive session for me. And just, they want like, I want to know if I'm on the right path. Can we just kind of get into it? And we do, and we'll give some suggestions, and it tweaks them into running a full-fledged marathon where they were maybe running a 10K or a half.
Right. Okay. So you're almost sort of giving them a bit of a sort of a confidence boost and sort of, you know, going, that just a couple of little tweaks, a couple of little pivots, and that'll work for you. And that's I wish I was that close.
It makes sense. Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes they're even just looking for that permission, like, hey, I think this is a great idea.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's couples, whether it's a business or personal, like, listen, we think this is a good idea, but we're a little bit afraid because we've not made always good decisions ourselves.
and that's a great point. You know, I mean, the times that we don't make decisions because we're scared, I like to have people to talk to. I like to bounce stuff off Adrian in the office. I like to, the stuff that I've got on the board is there because I've got a lot going on up here, but I want to get it out. So you're right. You know, it's good to have an assertion from someone else that maybe knows better than you. So you can take that step confidently rather than taking it and putting your toe in the water and going, shit, this doesn't work. So have that backup. As you said, it's like having a coach that's in essence what it's for, isn't it? You know, somebody that's better experienced than you are at what you're doing, being a few steps ahead. Quite a few, hopefully, in fact. So they've experienced it, and I think they're proper coaches. You're a proper coach. You do. I'm not being belittling coaching, but we all know good and bad coaches, don't we?
It's an unregulated field.
Yeah, it's an unregulated. That's a very diplomatic answer. But you know, and that's where you need it. You want somebody that has been through things, has experienced it, and hasn't just made it and just done really, really well. Because you don't want to know somebody's just done really, really well. You want to know they've been through some shit, don't you, as well, to get there?
Yeah. I do. I mean, I think it helps when you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah.
And you can really, where they're coming from, how they're feeling about it, because money is scary for most people.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody earlier today, and we said that people have an easier time talking about sex today than they do about money. And it wasn't always that way. I mean, it's become more of a taboo subject, and people are afraid of it. They have major anxiety over it. It causes, like I said, mental health issues, causes stress, it causes divorce.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really is at the root of everything, that if you can get your head wrapped around it, you can feel good about it, you can feel happy about it, you can look at your money and at least face it. A lot of people just, kind of wish and hope and say, swipe the card and hope that it goes through. You ever do one of those?
No,
I hope I've done it, but it wasn't my card. Yeah.
Better yet.
Not so much on that side, although I've obviously been through periods of my life where you've known there isn't money there. But I think it's more than not dealing with, and I do know many people that are entrepreneurs that don't deal with things because they're striving to get to a point where they know the money's coming in. And in fact, I've done this sort of 10 years ago, lived on credit cards, lived on loans and things because there was a project I was working on.
You had a goal, let's say. You had a goal and you knew that something was supposed to happen.
It was going to come in, and then of course things go wrong, don't they? And you're left with this sort of debt, and then so you start again. And there's going to be loads of people that do that. You must have encountered that, where people have got historical debt and then they're sort of almost starting again to build that and still working towards a goal. That historical debt is a crippler, isn't it? How do you deal with that? Do you have to put things in place for them so that they can get their finances sorted? Because I'm assuming that you've worked with people and this historical debt issue becomes a problem, and they bring it to light at some stage during the relationship you build with them. Does that happen?
I mean, that's one of the first things that we look at, because your debt will hold you back from your future. So you are paying for everything now that you've done in the past, whether it was a mistake or good, it doesn't matter. Like, we all learn from what we did.
Of course.
We just have to move forward with it. But when you have debt, it's holding you back from what that money can be doing for you, for that cash flow. And so it's one of the first things that we address, and that we set up like a plan for it, a debt elimination strategy. And one of the easiest ways to eliminate debt is by being profitable, by having money in the bank, by making sure that you're running a tight bottom line, that you're looking at that bottom line. Because you hit the nail on the head when you said, like, I know my ship's coming in. I know it's coming in. I'm going to make more money. But every time that we make more money, our ship's coming in, we're going to make more money. We also spend more. So it gets on this hamster wheel that you can't get off until you really address it, put it in place, put it in structure, and you're dealing with it on a regular basis. And that's, again, where the bank accounts that we do come in handy so much, because if you do this, you will see that, listen, if it's not in there and you set this rule and you say, I will not spend this if it's not in my account. You can't spend it if it's not in that account. Literally. I mean, what are you going to do? It's not there. So once you make that commitment to yourself that this is a change and how I'm going to run my business, it's a game changer.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was just curious now, because you brought the bank accounts back, So when you said, why do you tell people to open 7, 8 bank accounts?
Because you're looking for different things. You're looking to hold your income into one so that you can see your cash flow. You're looking for one for your main operating expenses, which is what we typically think of if you have a business bank account, that you're going to have an operating. It's typically what we do. It goes in and it comes out, just one big circle. One account's going to be for your taxes, or you call them BATs, correct? But for the government, their share.
Bastard.
So, dirty, rotten bastards, but they want their money. Depending on the business, there might be different kinds of taxes that they want, either monthly, quarterly, federal, state, sales tax, all that kind of stuff. So there's that. Your profit. So we're reversing that same old age. Instead of saying your sales minus your expenses equals your profit, so it's left over. The big point of what I'm doing with Profit First and what we're doing with these bank accounts is we are taking and reserving your profitability out first, even if it's a small amount, like 1%. So that you're starting to build those habits and build these strong habits again with your behaviors. And you're taking it out first and reversing that. What is left is what you can spend on your expenses. So one more time, you're kind of just, you're just reversing the system that you're using. And it helps to work with our natural behavior. And that's why 401ks are so successful. I mean, look at the tax system that we have typically with a standard JOB is because they take them out first. 401ks, in investing, they'll take the money out before you ever get your paycheck. So it's very successful because you never notice it. You just get whatever's left over and you make it work, or you pile up debt, one of the two. But you're supposed to just make it work. So we're doing the same thing when we flip this over to your business, is we are taking out your profit first in one of those accounts, and we are making it work on the rest of what's going. But we also have an account set up for your owner's pay, because most business owners will go for more than 1 month without paying themselves. And you are your best employee. You should never not take a paycheck. So I think one of the biggest things that I also do with a lot of entrepreneurs who are kind of still in that fiddling stage and they're not sure, they're not like doing a payroll or taking a paycheck, is I help them figure out how they can still take a steady paycheck on a regular basis when they still have these unknowns and these, hills and valleys of their income.
So this is like is grandma's method, but with banks, basically. That's how I see it.
100%. Yes. Grandma's divvies, only using the bank accounts instead. And it's becoming really popular. QuickBooks actually has started using like an envelope system within their bookkeeping system.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So the idea has really, really caught on, and it just makes sense. I have seen profitability soar in the companies that we've implemented it, including, mine and my husband's. You just see that bottom line because you never missed the money that wasn't there. One of the accounts that we use in his is an equipment account because he loves trucks. So, he'd kill me if I said that, but he loves trucks. So we started an equipment account, and, he watched it slowly build, or you kind of forget that it's there. But, one thing he said to me is like, Chris, he goes, I never missed that money. I'm like, that's the whole point, because otherwise what would you have done with it? You would have spent it on things that you just didn't need. Yeah, you just make different decisions based on what's available to you.
Probably you would have not even enjoyed it as much as, because you didn't have any goal, any purpose. You're just little things, small things that you would just enjoy them there for the moment.
Like your 6 McDonald's.
Like the 6 McDonald's. Exactly. That's where it would go.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and silly as it sounds, 6 McDonald's would cost you what? Depends what you're buying, I suppose. But let's say
be a 60 quid minimum.
So let's say 60 quid. So you're putting 60 quid away, every
whatever.
Yeah, if you're putting that away for a while, it's going to build up, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
No, you're going to buy a truck with it, but
no, not quite. But there's definitely plenty of other things that he wasted money on. So
we're actually talking about your husband now, right? Okay.
No. But anybody, we all do it. We'll say, I need a new desk.
Well, actually, I don't.
I need a new chair. And you'll go spend $130 on a chair that you probably didn't really need. But that $130, you'll say, well, I don't have money to invest in, I don't even know, a new mouse.
Yeah.
But maybe that's something you actually did need. So it's just about where it's going and the way that we start to think about things a little bit differently.
I mean, while we're talking about that, and I'm quite tight on this stuff, as Adrian knows, and I know Adrian is as well. But was it you that mentioned this, or is it something I've read today? That if you're going to buy equipment or buy bits and pieces that you need for your business, then have a look at second hand. Is it something you've put in the notes that you sent over, or is that something I've read today? Was it just because we're talking about that, and you can save a huge amount of money if you're careful, can't you? You don't need to buy brand new equipment in a fledgling business or something you're starting up or even scaling up or growing. Anyway, to be fair, do you?
I don't know if I put it in the notes, but it's definitely something I talk about. It's something that's in, the group program that I teach. It's one of my lessons is that, look and see if you can buy used, look and see if you can buy secondhand. Can you rent something? Can you share it with a friend? Can you, there's so many other options before you say
leasing options, and all sorts of different things, things that you could upgrade. Yes. I worked with something at end of last year, beginning of the year, and they were looking to put in a whole computer system in, and they were going to buy the equipment. I was like, what the? Well, seriously, I'm not being funny. There is no tax benefit for you buying that equipment, to be fair, apart from you own it and it's going to devalue in the computers, and in no time you're going to need to upgrade it. Where there's a lot of leasing companies and companies that do PCs and whole systems that will put it in and renew it in 3 years' time.
Not just that. But me, for example, I always like to buy used. Elliot knows,
me too.
Always sell them after for at least more. 1 or more. Usually.
Yes.
That's
absolutely. Ask yourself, can I get the same end result by buying the same thing used? That's that's a big question. And it's just something we either don't think about. We think that we'll be thought of less. Social media plays a huge role, and just image plays a huge role into what a lot of people, not everybody, but it plays a big role into what we think and what we buy and what we spend and how we want our business to look, and what we should have, what our office looks like, and is it fancy or on the corner in the good part of town. But if you're not dealing with people who are walking in and out of your office, that good part of town doesn't really matter as long as it's safe for you to get in and out of. Or it doesn't matter if it's over your garage and it's just a little flip that you have and whatever. So
you can just hire a virtual address or something like that. Maybe look nice. And that's it,
stand in the corner of the office, basically.
Exactly.
Get a green screen and that's it. Fix that. No problem.
Somebody said that it was last month. They went, I like your set. I went, that's not a set. Not a set here. This is literally the corner of the room.
That's where I live.
That's where I live. I live down. That's why I speak down here. That's it. This is the whole business here, right?
Welcome.
Well, now Adrian moved with him.
No, Adrian.
Less space.
Listen, the finances is such an important thing. I'm surprised we haven't had other people come on the show, and I love what you're saying. I think it's chunking these things down, getting on top of it. Something I've had to work very, very hard at over the years of getting myself into financial difficulties and sort of almost boggy, marshy sort of life where you feel like you're lifting your feet up, they're not going anywhere, and it's sort of that's that feeling, isn't it? And so you learn through doing that. But great things with podcasts and stuff like this is we can chat about that and people can go, you know what? Yeah, if I just looked at this, if I just opened up another bank, it's a simple thing you can do. I like splitting down the bank account.
Especially now with the online banks and things like that, I suppose that's very easy now to do it because you don't have to go to a physical bank anymore and do things like this. It's way easier. Yeah. And I think
absolutely
right. To be honest, I kind of doubt we're gonna have more guests in the future, talking about this, just because Kristen said it's quite taboo. People don't really talk about that, and also there are not many people that are teaching you these things, right?
In fact, it wasn't that long ago that I said I needed some help in that area. I've managed to get my head around most of it, to be fair, but it took a week of very dark days of going, I've just got to do something. I've got to do something. And listen, I'm saying this because I want people to understand that this is a normal thing to go through, right? Particularly when you're single-minded entrepreneurs, you're going for it, you've got yourself into trouble, you're going to get through it, you are going to get there. But it does create dark days. It creates quite down days, mental health issues. I've felt the stress, I've felt the pressure myself, and I'm being really honest about it. But I wish I'd have found you a little bit earlier, to be honest, and I could have helped that out, because I don't think there are many people doing what you do that I'm aware of in the big wide world. There's lots of business coaches, lots of people that try and tell you certain things that might help you out. Really, all they're really doing is dragging you a little bit further so they can keep coaching you through your business. But I love the fact that you concentrate on this, because I think it's one of the single most important things in a business. The finances, your IT these days, and your marketing. Let's face it, without those three things sorted, you're in essence fucked, really.
You don't really have a business.
Yeah, well, you're going to struggle, aren't you? So I like the fact that you concentrate on that first. When I asked you earlier on about the business and that, I like the fact that you put that first rather than doing that and then trying to bolt on a bit of help with the finance,
No, it's definitely my focus. I mean, I'm a financial coach first and foremost, and I work with the business owners first and foremost. So when it gets even further into the business, there's definitely times when I bring in other people and just, other people who are experts in systems and experts in time management and experts in these other parts where you still, hey, you've got this. I'm not saying I can't help you or keep you accountable, but now you need this. And I'm not an expert in all that stuff. So I definitely believe in sticking to what I know.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
And that's the fair way of doing business and be
the proper way to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
The proper way to do it.
Well, and it's fun because I get to see somebody succeed. I get to see them, do those things and have those ahas and have those like, holy craps. Like I had somebody this year just say that my biggest win was that I just paid all of my taxes for the first time on my own with my business money. I didn't put it on my HELOC. She was, and that was just like an awesome moment to know that she didn't add debt. She was super excited about that. She didn't feel the pain about it anymore.
Yeah. That's
and
good.
So I love that.
Lovely feeling. What a lovely feeling that must be. I'm saying must be. We'll have a childhood. Listen, we've got a couple of people saying hello. Kim. Now, Kim is actually going to be coming on the show at some stage. I don't know how to say your second name, but that's got to be Verdict. Like a verdict.
Sounds a bit Nordic.
Hi, Kim. How you doing?
Kim.
We're looking forward to getting you on the show. And of course, my mother.
Biggest fan of the show. Hello,
Mum.
Elliot's mum.
Thanks for the support, Mum, as always.
And the faith in us.
Yeah, I just very quickly, actually, I made Mum. I gave a few tears on the weekend because she tried to get hold of me, and I just sent a message back to her on WhatsApp and literally just put. She said, "Oh, are you okay?" And I went, "Oh my God, Mum, they've taken me away." And never thought anything of it, right? Because I do things like this. Well, of course, we've got this bloody COVID going on. She's thinking I've been taken away for tests because I've been taken away for tests, and I didn't even. I just did it as a little, yeah. Yeah, so she got really upset, to be honest.
That's not nice.
I know. I didn't. It was just listen. I've been jesting for years like that. I couldn't consider the fallout from it. And I was like, Mum, what are you messing about? And she was really upset. So I do apologise, Mum. Big love to you.
I apologise for him as well.
Don't joke. Don't joke. Oh, you can't joke anymore about things. Can you be really careful?
Well, it depends with who. You can joke with me. I don't really give that much.
I don't give a shit. Thanks, dude. Kristen, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you about your financial
Thank
stuff.
you.
Where can people find you? Because I think there's going to be, there's got to be a lot of people coming to you, unless you're so bogged down with work, Kristen, that you can't cope with it. But where can people find you? What you do, your courses, etc. as well? Because I think must be huge value in what you do.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. So I can be found at financialfitnesscoaching.com. It's my website. You can set up a discovery call right from there. You can find a lot of great free resources, free downloads for your business, for your personal life. Facebook, Financial Fitness Coaching, just the same, and Instagram are my three big ones. So my course for Self-Paced Profit First 6-week program is going to be releasing early August. So it's not out just yet. And I will have another live group coaching program starting shortly after that. So lots coming up soon.
Very cool. And did you work on that because of lockdown? Is because I know a lot of people have put courses together. Or did that give you some time to do that, or just,
I didn't have extra time. I was extra busy during lockdown between having a 2 and a 3-year-old at home, people, going crazy, needing help with business, needing help with money.
Yeah.
But I did put it together mostly because of COVID, because I can only help so many people one-to-one. And same thing with group. And it's just a way for me to be able to help give step-by-step action, step-by-step. Exactly. Do this. Like, you can read the book. It is fantastic. Everybody should read Profit First. You need to read it. Absolutely. And implement it, at least part of it. If nothing else, open one new account.
It could be the first book I read in a long time, because I talk about this on every time we talk about books. I don't read books, right? Yeah,
so
but this is one, genuinely, this is one that I need to read.
So you must see a pattern now, right? Because everyone that was interesting and good at what they do that we had on the show, they all said about books. They need to start reading them.
I'm going to buy a lorry load of books just and put them on shelves somewhere, so it makes it look like a read, because apparently that's what the most successful entrepreneurs do. No, I have got to do it. I don't have the time.
It's smaller after that. So
it's actually a really good audio book too, though. If you just listen to the audio book, most people are not good audio. Mike reads his own book, so you'll enjoy it.
He gets excited about that, but still, he doesn't listen to audiobooks either. So don't worry about it.
Listen, I pick up.
There's another way of know how to do it.
I pick up what I need to off all the people I talk to. I learn every time I speak. Listen, this is like been reading a book today. I've learned so much. I've learned so much from you. I love that.
I'm glad that I can help. So that's my number one mission, is to help, eliminate this stress and chaos about money in your life, so that you can just live the life that you're meant to do.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, listen, I absolutely recommend everybody goes and checks out Kristen's website, and I'll be checking out this book for sure, without a shadow of doubt. It's an area I'd profit first.
I'll check up on you for that. Okay.
Please do. We're going to make sure we keep in contact anyway. So thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thankfully, the storm held out. And we didn't get any power cuts, which we did have yesterday. The guest had a power cut, didn't she? Yeah. But anyway, all good. Thank you very much, Kristen. Absolute pleasure getting you on the show. I've learned stuff, some easy, simple little tweaks and pivots that can be done, that I think everybody can learn a little bit from.
Definitely. These are things.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Our pleasure. Well, listen, if you want to know more about Kristen, then we're going to make sure that there is a link somewhere around this. And this is going to be posted up as an audio and a video podcast as well. So watch out for that over the next couple of weeks. And so if you're watching this live, that is. Adrian, it's been pivotal today for sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
Adrian and I are doing this show. If you're only listening to this as an audio podcast, Adrian and I are actually in the studio together. Are we going to be doing this next week as well? Or you're off? Oh God, this is the last.
We're going to do
until we're together again in Romania. We'll be doing it remotely again. As the audio people, that will make no difference to you at all. Video, you'll see a slight difference, but we still make it our own, don't we?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And with our lovely guests, our extraordinaires, just like Kristen, who add everything we need to make the show just that little bit more special than the average podcast.
And very useful, So guys, you should get things.
Very useful. Definitely. Very useful. Very pivotal in fact. And if you want to know more about what is going on Essex Business Radio, and there's a lot going on over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. There's loads coming up, loads to tell you. But in the next month, we've got loads more guests going on. We've got lives going on. There are going to be a few changes, which we're going to keep everybody informed about. But you can check out everything that we do on social media, Essex Business Radio, apart from Twitter, which is Essex Biz, BIZZ Radio, and of course our YouTube, which we want people to subscribe to, don't we?
Yeah, of course, yeah, and get notified whenever we go live. And we have new things.
Absolutely. And of course, you can download the free app. If and we do know there's people that go running and listen to the podcast, then download the free app, Essex Business Radio, available at all good app stores. So you get all of the podcasts that are on there that we do. Thanks very much, Kristen. Again, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
It's been
Appreciate
lovely.
it.
There's loads of things, so thank you for that.
You have, and thank you, Adrian.
And thank you, Mr. Elliot.
No problem at all.
I love your haircut.
Oh, mate, thanks very much. I feel brand new now. Oh, raring to go. Right, so we're going to sign off for now. So I'm going to say ciao for now.
Brown cow.
Hey.